Welcome back to the Sharpe Sports Report. I'm here with Brandon. I'm Kellen. I am back from my spring break last week and went on a crazy adventure to Cleveland, which is not that bad. Gettysburg, which is pretty cool. Philadelphia, which is kind of gone down the pooper, if I do say so myself. But the biggest and most exciting part of my trip was being able to go to Penn State. If you haven't been, it is a beautiful campus. The restaurants there are nice. The people there are super nice. Got some good chicken fingers. And the stadium, Beaver Stadium, Happy Valley. Oh my God, is it huge? Like the student section alone is 22,500 people. That's an absolutely insane stat. Um, within the stadium, they have a museum for all sports at Penn State, in which you get to see the championships they won. I was able to see Penn State's 1986 national championship trophy on display and John Cappelletti's Heisman Trophy from 1972, I believe. So it's just all around a great experience, and considering it is my favorite college and a college that I've been accepted to and I might be going to, it was just an all around fun experience. But I am glad to be back. I'm glad to be back on the podcast to talk about some sports. This time it's just me and Brandon, so it's just the two brothers bickering almost. There's no Alec to mediate here. So I was gone. I wasn't able to watch with either of these guys, but the Masters happened this weekend and Brandon was able to pull out an absolute big 6-point W this weekend with his pick of Scottie Scheffler. Brandon, I mean, you got to be absolutely elated
I mean,
right now.
let me tell you. So some of the so I had no idea he even had a chance Thursday into Friday, about Friday midday. And then all of a sudden, his name was creeping up that board Friday afternoon. Just every hole, I was like, oh my God, he's like moving up a spot. And then I turned on the TV Saturday. I was pretty much glued to the Masters all day Saturday. He was hitting shots that a Masters champion needs to hit. Even on Sunday, where both him and Cam Smith shanked their drives to the left side of the green or left side of the fairway. I think it was hole 8 or 9 at that point. I was like, oh man, shaky start for Scottie Scheffler. Cam Smith is within a couple strokes now. But then Scottie Scheffler hits that beautiful little chip to hit it off the lip of the green, and it just rolls right in. And I'm like, he's winning it all. He's winning it all. He did get me 6 points. That makes you and I tied for first place at 7 points total for the golf pick'em on the Sharpe Sports Report pod. Also, we have to congratulate Alec. I know he's not here, but he finally got some points of his pick of Rory McIlroy, who had a fantastic Sunday outside of the top 15, I believe, and came roaring back to be in second place and actually made it pretty interesting down the stretch with him and Scheffler. Before you left, I believe, he was saying Rory McIlroy will be someone to watch out for. Actually, it was while you were gone. It was actually, we're going to get that episode up for you guys. I'm just letting you guys know ahead of time. This is what Alex said. Alex did say, look out for the veterans in the Masters. It all depends on the experience you have at a course like that. And Rory McIlroy showed it completely on Sunday. I think the bigger storyline, which I'm not trying to take away from Scottie Scheffler, was Tiger Woods coming back. Thursday, he looked pretty good. I was like, that's a pretty decent start, going -1, going 1 under first day at the Masters, 17 months after a horrific crash. But then you could start to tell the injuries and everything else trying to creep up on him. Looks like his conditioning was not top notch. He was starting to limp quite a bit all over the field, left and or over the course, left and right. Especially on Sunday, he was hobbling a lot back to the clubhouse once he finished, but he had high hopes. I think that's the first time that I've actually watched a live interview from Tiger where he actually pointed out his flaws and took ownership of it rather than saying, oh, hey, that was that because something else happened. He knew he was in a lot of pain, but I think it was great to see him on Sunday at the Masters again.
It's great to see Tiger Woods play just in general, whether it's because he came off of not playing for 14 months or however long it was. Um, look, it's having Tiger Woods in the golf game is great because it brings in a ton of viewers, but it also sucks because Scottie Scheffler wins the Masters in extraordinary fashion. He hits that crazy shot at 18 on Saturday, where he takes all his time to make sure the lie is good and get the perfect lie, and hits a beautiful shot that was kind of Phil Mickelson-esque. Um, but then the only thing that's talked about most of the time is Tiger Woods, which I understand, but at the same time, it's taking the limelight off of the young guys like Scottie Scheffler and Dustin Johnson, even though he's not that young. Rory had one of the greatest Sundays in Masters history. With I think he shot 8 under on Sunday, which was just insane. So if golf wants to move forward in viewership, it's going to have to start pumping the Tiger Woods brakes a little bit because pretty soon he will be gone. Eventually, he'll be gone. Which is sad to say, but it's going to happen, and golf has to be ready for that. But I mean, this is the second time one of us has picked Scottie Scheffler, and Scottie Scheffler has won. So Scottie Scheffler's been our golden boy for the pick'em so far, and he might continue to be because the golf he's playing right now is absolutely absurd. It's nearly pristine game. There's guys who could challenge him, like Will Zalatoris. He's been on a moderate tear. He's got just has to figure out that putting issue. And maybe Rory can take what he did on Sunday and put that into an entire weekend tournament. Who knows? But golf's going to be pretty interesting over the next couple tournaments.
I think, and I agree with the whole Rory thing because I noticed even on Friday and Saturday, I mean, yeah, the weather was great. It was windy, but Rory could not hit a putt to save his life. I mean, he was on the green having 2-3 attempts, and then he would either get bogey or double bogeys, and that was killing him on the scorecard. I think I was really surprised at how underwhelming John Rahm played in the Masters. I mean, he was the overwhelming favorite by a long shot to win the Masters. And for him to pretty much lay an egg the way he did, I mean, yes, he was there on Sunday, but I think he shot, +6 total over the entire tournament. Really wasn't there. It was interesting. I actually loved the fact that the weather was a huge factor. I love when weather affects golf like that. It makes golf so much more enjoyable to watch rather than seeing these guys before when they would get like, -16 or -17 for a whole tournament. But it really shows you what guys really prepare in all elements to play this type of level of golf. And Scottie Scheffler showed it, man. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head with that one. He's looking very dangerous. I believe he is the number one golfer right now. And as far as rankings go, it'll be interesting to see how he does. And I am interested to see how John Rahm does because I've never seen him play that poorly before. So I'm pretty sure he'll have a bounce back weekend close or upcoming close on a weekend. I can't even talk right now. I don't even know what's going on. But all in all, it was a great weekend. Masters were on. And Kellen, baseball's back. Baseball is back. And let me tell you, Alec and I said this while you were gone. I don't know if we said it on the podcast or if we said it off air. But what we did say is we both agreed that if somehow, some way, the Phillies come out on top in their division and get through the playoffs, we both said we will not hear the end of it from you. But at the same time, we both agreed he's got a point. The Phillies roster looks phenomenal right now. Nick Castellanos hit his first home run over this past weekend.
So did Kyle Schwarber on his first at bat.
Did. The pitching, I'm surprised, has looked pretty good. Thing I'm a little bit worried about, though, is you guys have only put up 19 runs to giving up 15 so far. I get it. It's early. You've only played 4 games. But yeah, I think right now what worries me the most about the Phillies is the bullpen. Not so much the starting rotation, but more so the bullpen than usual. Outside of that, you guys look good.
The bullpen relief pitching is not great. It did save us last night against the Mets, though. I don't know where that came from, where that just array of pitching came from. But it was nice to see something we haven't seen in a while from Philadelphia. Um, but then again, our pitching does not have to always be top notch for us to win some of these ball games with how electric our bats are. Kyle Schwarber as a leadoff has already established that he can smack home runs. Yeah, Bryce Harper. You got Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto, DG Gregorius, Reese Hoskins. If Alec Bohm was feeling it, he'll drop a few bombs. Now, that's all great and good, but our fielding is just horrendous, whether that's infield or outfield. It's pretty bad, and that also reared its head against the Mets very early on. It almost cost us the game, but we were able to come back in the bottom of the eighth inning. Alec Bohm, I think, had 3 errors in the first 2 innings, which is just not acceptable if we want to win games. But when I look at this Phillies team, I'm not asking for a World Series. I don't need a first round bye. I'm fine with the wild card. I want to make the playoffs. We haven't made the playoffs in like a decade. Last time I remember watching the Phillies be good in the playoffs was when Roy Halladay was there. So I mean that tells you how long it's been. He's already passed and gone, which is a sad thing. Um, so I'm hungry for it. And if we do make it, I'm not sure. Like I'll definitely be talking about it, and I'll be saying, "Hey, we're one piece away from making a deep run." But after a month, I'll probably shut up because at the end of the day, how good are we?
So I love seeing that I mean, listen, this is coming after just a week of baseball, or like just an opening weekend of baseball. I mean, this is not even getting into a month yet of baseball. I like the Phillies rotation. I did watch some other games. I am pleasantly surprised about how well my Cubs have done against the Brewers opening weekend. Seiya Suzuki, welcome to Chicago. I appreciate your services so much. I love that that is a perfect punchline when he hits a home run. Seiya, and that's his name. So why not? Chicago's looks good. Alex Cardinals, they're 2-1. I think one of their games got postponed. Um, it's early in the season. I love seeing that baseball is back. I will say right now, the top teams for the NL East would be the Phillies and the Mets. I think if the Mets can be fully healthy on the pitching rotation, that gives them the edge over the Phillies just because of experience and just that level of pitching is absurd with DeGrom and Scherzer and Taiwan Walker, who I just found out he is on the DL. Did something to his shoulder, I guess, yesterday. He was pulled.
Yeah, he's pulled in
He is
the
now
second
hurt.
or third inning.
Yes. And I was surprised. I'd never heard of this McGill guy, but he did really well. First game of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. The Padres offense looks completely explosive. They have already put up 24 runs this year. The Dodgers are slumping with all the superstardom they have. Cody Bellinger has not looked like himself at all. It's crazy to think like right now the NL West, your top two teams are the Padres and the Rockies. So Chris Bryant and the Rockies going to the playoffs, right? I mean, is that what we're saying?
I
With
mean,
157 games left to go.
at this point, why not? But from what we've seen from these powerhouses like the Dodgers and Yankees is why I love baseball. Like you can spend a ton of money. You can try to get all the superstars you want, but that does not guarantee wins. We've seen teams who spend like nothing. The Moneyball Athletics or that Seattle Mariners team that was pretty good for a little while when they had Ichiro or the Florida Marlins teams that won the World Series. They didn't spend millions upon billions of dollars. They just kind of homegrown themselves, and that's kind of chemistry is what you need in baseball to win games. Everyone who wants to fight for each other, and sometimes you can't manufacture that by bringing in free agents. It's just not
Yeah.
possible sometimes.
And I completely agree. And I think we talked about this, I think it was a month ago when I brought up the whole topic of I think there's got to be a way for the teams that don't have that cap, like the bigger teams, like the New Yorks, the LA Dodgers, so on and so forth. There's got to be a way for them to still have the ability to gain top talent. Because even 10 years ago, Baltimore wasn't a bad team. They had Manny Machado. They were young. They had a lot of young, great talent, and now it's kind of all dispersed. But I do love Baltimore's young core right now of Adley Rutschman at the catcher's position, Cedric Mullins And then their veteran leadership and the rotation of John Means, the big old lefty. He's been pretty good down there in Baltimore. So it will be interesting to see what happens. I am surprised. I have not seen this many major league debuts for such young people at the start of this year. Spencer Torkelson got his first hit today for the Tigers. Julio Rodriguez for the Mariners got his first hit over the weekend. And I believe, yes, my pick for Rookie of the Year was Bobby Witt Jr. for the Royals. He's looked phenomenal. I did ask Alec what his thoughts were on AL and NL MVP at the end of the year. I need to know your thoughts of who you would choose as we have started the season. We still have 5 freaking months of baseball to go. Who are your picks for NL and AL MVP?
That's tough because I really want to run back the AL MVP. I really do, but it's in baseball, it is so difficult to do that. But I think I'm gonna have to.
So
I'm gonna take. I'm gonna go Shohei.
Shohei back to back.
I'm gonna go Shohei back to back because I think his just insane array of talent, whether it's pitching or hitting, is absurd. And I think he can continue it. I think he'll continue it to this year, and I think it'll still be relatively fresh and new enough to not have that voters fatigue that's found in MVP voting sometimes. Um, and I would love to say the same for the NL because last year it was my buddy Bryce Harper. But people don't like Bryce Harper because he's an absolute ass sometimes, and he argues with the refs a crap ton. Um, but I'm gonna go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go Vlad Guerrero Jr. for the NL.
That's AL, right?
That's AL. God, he plays for Toronto, right?
Yeah, that's AL, dude. He's in the same division with New York and Boston.
Yeah, that's my bad. See, I'm not as smart about baseball stuff as you guys
No,
are.
that's fine.
So I just have to double check right now because I thought I was being smart
I
there.
will
I
help you
wasn't.
out. My NL pick will either be Fernando Tatis Jr. for the Pods, or if Scherzer stays healthy and has a crazy year, I will say Max Scherzer for the Mets.
Mm.
But at the same time, I understand you and Alec don't have the baseball knowledge.
Well, Alec has a hell of a lot more than I do. I passively watch baseball. I really only ever watch Phillies games, so it's whoever they play is really what I know. But I do know Fernando Tatis, like you said, is an absolute unit. Um,
And the team's looking fantastic. I
the
mean, they've
team
almost put
is
up
looking
30 runs in the
fantastic.
first 5 games. But
Wait one
I
second.
do,
Is Manny Machado on the Padres?
yeah.
I'm taking Manny Machado.
Oh, fair enough. Kellen's pick, everybody, breaking news. Manny Machado, NL MVP. That's what we're doing here, folks. I'm surprised you didn't choose like JT Romuto or, Kyle Schwarber
Well, see, I could have picked a Philly,
or
but
like
I'm trying to
Nolan
be.
Arenado.
I'm trying to be. Oh, I forgot about Nolan Arenado, but too late. I already chose. We're gonna stay with Manny Machado. I think he's gonna be. He's got talent. Hasn't been as as great as it was in Baltimore, right? Baltimore. Um,
You're gonna
I
need to do some research,
I
my
know.
man.
No, but I knew it was Baltimore, but I wasn't like I couldn't guarantee that it was Baltimore. I think he'll be. I think he'll pop off when the Padres make the World Series. So
It's an interesting pick. I'm not saying you're wrong. I
I
could be
am.
wrong. It could be someone like I don't even know. It could be someone for the Braves, even though the Braves are second to last in their division. It could be someone from the Reds because the Reds have a very young team. It even could be Nicholas Castellanos if he has a stellar year. Um, but I think what's interesting and what I had to ponder all weekend after watching opening day was was the introduction of the new rules in baseball. There is no more pitchers batting for the NL. It is all DH now, which I understand you want an even playing field. I don't know if that's why they brought it up, but at the same time, I always thought having a pitcher bat, especially when you play against an NL team at home, I think that gives the NL more of an advantage because they can use that as a strategy against AL teams. I think having a pitcher bat is a huge strategy. You know, I mean, you can use them for bunts, little pooches. Even some pitchers were able to hit bombs. Remember Carlos Zambrano for the Cubs
Dude,
back in the day?
Noah Syndergaard when he was smacking home runs with the Mets.
I mean, Zach Greinke did it for crying out loud. Bartolo Colon
He
for
hit
the
one.
Mets.
Hit one,
He
but it was
hit
beautiful
one.
though. It was beautiful though.
But it was interesting to see, and then also the bigger bases. I really can't freaking tell.
Yeah, I don't know what the point of that was.
It did feel like I was in the middle of a football game because the umpires, when they have to go to instant replay and they have to announce it, I'm like,
It is.
That's new, and I actually enjoy that.
So do
it
I.
Makes me feel more part of the game now.
So do I. And there's so many people who complain about the umps. Now we get to see, how they decide what their stupidity is. And I love hearing the fans' reactions to whether it is for their team or against. It just brings a whole nother level of fan interactivity that's just enjoyable.
Absolutely. So baseball, the Masters, it was a great weekend for sports. And I know you were busy, so you had a great time with your travels, seeing the Hall of Fame in Canton, going to a 76ers game the weekend prior, and visiting Penn State University and Death Valley as well. I also want to say that we probably won't touch on it much tonight because I think we want to see how these play-in games go for the NBA playoffs. Playoffs pretty much will start on Thursday. The Nets are cooking right now after halftime. They are almost up by 20 points against the Cavaliers. They are probably one of the most dangerous and sneaky teams right now in the East with everyone that can play. Besides Ben Simmons, they are still the deadliest team. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. I'm hoping we can get Alec on. I know he's got some thoughts on some Western Conference teams. I still think the Grizzlies are sneaky, but the Suns have looked so freaking good. It's unbelievable. And also, we will talk about the NFL draft, which will be coming up here in the next couple of weeks. The Eagles have just kind of unloaded with everything. So that will be fantastic. It will be interesting to see what happens with the first pick and to see all the shakeups. There's a lot of shakeups that are going to happen. I mean, what is Seattle going to do at the quarterback position? Are they going to stick with Drew Lock? Are they going to go in the draft? Does Aaron Rodgers find his next Devontae Adams within the draft with all the wide receiver depth we have? Is there an unsung hero that no one's talking about in the top 10? But usually you always have one that he's typically an early second rounder and he just is a top 10. We'll dive more into that on tomorrow's episode. I also want to give a huge condolences to the family of Dwayne Haskins Jr., and especially his new wife of March of last year. Dwayne Haskins was struck by a dump truck Saturday morning in Florida while crossing I-95 highway. More storylines have come out today that apparently he was in a rental car and car ran out of gas and he was crossing the street at 6:30 in the morning. That's when the dump truck struck him and he died on site. 24 years old. He's about to turn 25 next month. I know you and Alec gave me a lot of flack for my love for Dwayne Haskins, but I thought him being in Pittsburgh, not only as a player, but for what he needed as a person and an individual, was probably the best situation for him at that time, especially being underneath Mike Tomlin and the whole Rooney family. But apparently he was really vying to fight for that starting spot. I mean, the kid got in the NFL he's got talent. He broke a bunch of records at Ohio State, has a huge arm. You hate to see that for such a young talent. So once again, condolences to Dwayne Haskins and his family.
It sucks because he finally got out of Washington, a team that treated him so poorly. and he had so much talent. And if anyone could have gotten that talent out of him, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we gave you a little flack for Dewey Haskins, but I mean, I think me and Alec both knew that there was a definite chance that he could turn up in Pittsburgh. His Me and Alec being Big Ten fans, we had to go up against Dwayne Haskins, and that kid's mobility, his ability to keep his eyes up when he was scrambling out of the prop pocket. It's He threw 50 touchdowns in a season for a reason in college. Because the dude was a ball player. He was a winner, and it really sucks that we won't be able to see that uh, in the NFL.
Yeah, it's a very tragic story, and you saw just how much it affected not only Pittsburgh Nation but the whole NFL as a whole. I mean, you had players. I didn't even think it was going to be that big of a hit on the league, but then when you start to see Tyreek Hill and then Russell Wilson, and then I was surprised to see Chase Claypool get as touchy as he did in his big tweet. Apparently, he was down there with him during this training session. Really speaks a lot to, I guess, how much. I mean, listen, we're on a podcast here. I mean, we're not here to create any sort of drama or anything like that, or make it seem as though we're just doing this because these are just athletes. I mean, these are people too. Which brings me to my next topic along the storyline. Adam Schefter got a lot of shit thrown his way for the way he worded the first initial tweet of this incident, which I actually caught before it even became a big story. I was like, this guy really just said something super negative about someone who just passed. And for those of you watching this, you probably have read the tweet already. It's something about how a struggling young quarterback could not make it in Washington and had to find another career in Pittsburgh. That was pretty much the gist of the tweet. He got ripped a new one by everybody. And it was funny because he tried to delete the tweet. And we're in a world now where you can't delete anything from the internet at this point. Apparently, he came out yesterday or today to actually apologize 3 days after it happened. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
What are you doing, Shefty?
it was yesterday, and I listened to it, and I mean, it seems heartfelt, but it's too late at that point. Coming out and saying that is just already screwed up. And B, you said it. We love sports, not because they're just athletes, but because they're people who we're able to connect to. They're people who we strive to be. The reason I love football so much is because Brian Dawkins was a dude who took nothing and gave everything. The reason I love soccer is because you have icons like when I was a kid, it was Luka Modric when he played for Tottenham, and Christian Eriksen. Just the way they played and the way they carried themselves as people is why you like the sport. And clearly, Dwayne Haskins was a guy who put his teammates and his family and his friends above all other things. And the people who he didn't even play with still spoke out and said how good of a person he was. And that speaks volumes of the man that he was and that he will continue to be through memories and stories. I mean, a guy who at 11 years old went to Ohio State and said, "This is where I want to be," went out, did it, starting quarterback, killed it.
I mean, it sucks because it almost felt as though that story of Dwayne Haskins took away from such a great weekend in sports in general, with opening weekend in baseball and the Masters, and then that happens on Sunday, like, or that was Saturday morning. I'm sorry. Like when that news broke, and I was glued to the TV just watching highlights. I was like stoked, baseball's back, and then all of a sudden, like I don't know how my phone got it, but I like got it before like all of a sudden ESPN started just blowing up everyone else's phones. So very, very down day for Steeler Nation, especially over the weekend and everything. I guess on the bright side, it makes it easier to cut Mason Rudolph right now.
Yeah,
I don't like Mason Rudolph.
At this point, yeah, just get rid of Mason Rudolph.
Listen, it's fantastic.
I think what you got to do, you got to put a 7 somewhere on the field. You got not what number did you wear in Pittsburgh? 3. put a 3 on the field. Washington, don't do anything because no one likes you. Also, another story came out today. They were committing fraud.
I saw that. Unbelievable. The stories just keep coming out on the Washington
Put
Commanders.
Dan Snyder in prison.
Yep. We'll touch more on that because I'd love to get Alex's take on that story. Because when that broke out, I was like, this team just cannot catch a break. And you feel horrible for the players. I mean, they have a really good team, a very young team that could do a lot if they just had the right pieces, but no one wants to go there. Everyone probably wants to get out now. I mean, it's unbelievable. Could this be the start of the end of Washington in Washington? Could we see the team leave the country's capital?
Absolutely, because we've seen teams leave for less. Like Cleveland in the 90s, they had made the Super Bowl 2 times in the 80s. 10 years later, they're still a playoff contender. They're like, nah, let's go to Baltimore and be the Ravens. We've seen teams move for way less than committing tax fraud and sexual assault and changing your name to something that no one likes, than having a no-name team for 2 years and then being just having the worst owner in NFL history.
Yeah,
They're gone.
It's time for a clean sweep. Either Goodell's got to do something, or this is just going to keep going on and on. Kellen, I hate to be a bearer of bad news. Your Phillies are losing at the bottom of the sixth, but you have someone in scoring position with one out. I've got nothing else to mention on today. I'm glad you're back from your vacation. We needed it, and once again, I apologize on behalf of our episode, not so much because of Kellen, for not having an episode up last week for you guys. It's Alex said it best. Kellen is our tech guy who does all the uploading and everything. We are more just hey, we provide the information, and I do social media pages, and Alex is more of our business associate who gets shit done. But other than that, I've got nothing. There is one more game tonight for the play-in, which I think will be interesting. The Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards and apparently, according to the ref a couple of weeks ago, Cat Williams is on the Timberwolves. So Carl Anthony Towns, aka Cat Williams, the little 5'3" comedian, is also on the Timberwolves. Played tonight against the Clippers and Paul George, which would be interesting. I would love to see the Timberwolves win that game. I think they will. I love Anthony Edwards. He's a young superstar already and has a lot of potential in the league. Looks like Brooklyn will pull away with this one, which will put them in the 7th place automatically, which means who are they playing?
That'd be
Boston.
Yeah. Which
they will be playing Boston first round.
I have friends who are Boston fans at school, and I've asked them the question. Of course, they're going to say Boston, but they're saying Boston in as much as 5. No.
I need to double check that. So yes, they will be playing Boston. I'm not going to lie. We'll talk more about it. I just want to say one last thing. I am nervous for your 76ers against the Raptors because of how stupid Thibault is.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell do you get the first vaccine and just say, oh, I forgot the second one?
I don't know, and I don't know if he can rectify that anytime relatively soon. Which hurts the hell out of us because he's a great defender. He's a great 3-and-D guy, and we have Danny Green, which is cool, but not having Matisse sucks. Maybe B-ball Paul steps up and drops 20 points like he did against the Pistons, but I don't know. I'm definitely nervous. I have 2 things that I would like to add. As of today, Maryland transfer Damian Robinson, ex 5-star defensive end, has transferred to Penn State University. So Penn State picks up a 5-star defensive end. And on ESPN, came out yesterday, or yes, that'd be yesterday. I'm a Penn State fan, so it hurts me to say, but this is a story that has to come out. It's a story titled Before Jerry Sandusky, and it is a story of another sexual predator that was at Penn State in 1978. He was a football player under Joe Paterno, and he did some pretty vile things. But I hope this doesn't tarnish Joe Paterno's legacy any more than it already has been, because one, he took way more flack for the Jerry Sandusky situation uh, than he needed to. That's all covered in a documentary. And in the story, if you read it, um, Joe Paterno did not know anything about this, and when he did find out, he went to go console the ladies that were affected by this tragedy. But I believe that this is something that needs to be spread out and needs to be talked about, learned about, because no one knew about this up until just recently, and this happened in the 70s.
Very, very sad to hear that in regards to such a very historic university and probably one of the greatest college coaches to ever have coached in college football. But we have to end on a good note. So I'm going to say go Hawks. So go Hawks. Congratulations to Doug Edert for transferring to Bryant.
Yes, Bryant. So him and that one guy who isn't the one super cocky dude on Bryant too?
Peter Kiss.
Yeah. Those two guys are going to be on the same team, and they're going to be a 15 or 14 seed, and they're going to go on another little tiny run, and it's going to be hilarious. And if they don't, then I'm fine with that, because I hate Kiss. I don't like him.
I've got nothing else besides good old Coach O was in South Bend today at Notre Dame University. So that was very interesting. Was not expecting to have that as a storyline today. It was all over Instagram for some reason. And I was like, there's no way he's here, but he was here, spoke with the team. And I got to admit, that was a great speech he had in front of the team. So Coach O, welcome to South Bend. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, I wouldn't mind having you on the coaching staff just to hear that voice every Saturday, man. So love it.
Hell yeah, the dude brings energy to every team he's ever been at. Like when he was at USC, I mean, wrongfully fired there, but like the dude just brings energy, and to have and hear him say, "Go Irish," would be just fantastic. I want him to dance around with the leprechaun. That's what Coach O's made for. Having a coaching staff that would consist of Marcus Freeman and Coach O would just be insane. I'm not even a Notre Dame fan that much, and I would love to see that.
It'd be fantastic. We have a lot to dive into tomorrow, but Kellen, I've got nothing else. If you do, you can say it. Other than that, I'm going to sign off. Go Hawks from Alec. And let's get ready for the NFL draft next week. Or 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I'm sorry.
2 weeks. Doesn't matter. It's getting close, and I'm excited for it. And on Thursday, me and Alec will be talking about soccer. If you care at all, that's cool. If you don't, still check in, because you might learn something and you might enjoy it. A lot of stuff happened this past week and a half, and it's just all around great time for all sports. Love and laugh right now, B. Baseball's back.
Baseball's back.